Okay, so cofunctions on page 6. Cofunctions, instead of even explaining it or giving notes, the first question does that for us. So cofunctions, jot this down. The sine of one angle equals the cosine of the other. And by the two angles, I mean the two, you always have a right triangle, a right angle. It's these two that I'm talking about, the two other acute angles in the triangle. So the sine of this one is always the exact same thing as the cosine of this one, because the opposite of one is the adjacent of the other, and the hypotenuse doesn't change. So what equation is always true? The same wording down here. The sine of one angle, right? The sine of one angle equals the cosine of the other. And number 2, if you go back and look at this, if this is 90, triangles are 180, so these two have to add up to the other 90. That's why cofunctions always add up to 90. So if you look at number 2, the sine of 40 must equal the cosine of 50. Number 3 is asking the same thing in a different way. The sine of x, we don't know what it is, but it's going to be 90 minus that because it's the cosine of 90 minus that because it has to equal 90. So 90 minus something is the complement of whatever that something was. Number 4, the sine of p. This is just a picture of the same thing. The sine of p is opposite over hypotenuse. But then it says the cosine of r. So then if I go up here, the cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So again showing that the sine of one angle is the cosine of the other angle. Number 5. This and this, those two angles have to add up to 90. So you just forget about sine and cosine, and it's that plus that equals 90. Whatever's with sine plus whatever's with cosine equals 90. Same thing here, they're just algebraic expressions. Whatever's with sine plus whatever's with cosine equals 90. Forget about the word sine, forget about the word cosine. The algebraic expressions add up to 90. Same thing again. Number 7. Whatever's with cosine and whatever's with sine total 90. 6 minus 1 is positive 5. Subtract 5. 85 divided by 5 is 17. This number 8 is very similar to number 4 over there. So if you want, you can pause and see if you can figure it out from number 4, and then replay it and see if you get it right. But the cosine of A, so that means I'm standing up here, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent over hypotenuse, what's the sine of B? Well, if I stand down here at B, the sine is opposite over hypotenuse. It's going to be the same thing. The cosine of one equals the sine of the other. Same thing. So that's generally the idea of cofunctions. It's probably going to be something like one of those questions. I don't know which. I don't know how they'll ask it. They've done it a variety of different ways. These might even be old Regents questions. I know some of them are for sure. The sine of one angle is the cosine of the other, and they add up to the expressions add up to 90 degrees.